take no lessons from the Conservatives.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. This is coming from me. Mr. Speaker, let's take housing. He says they're spending billions of dollars more on housing. The results are out today.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canadians are cash-strapped and needed a break. Instead, the Prime Minister gave them the costliest budget in Canadian history and put it all on the national credit card. The Parliamentary Budget Officer revealed the Prime Minister doubled Trudeau's deficits, added $16 billion more to the debt than he promised, is increasing the debt-to-GDP ratio, breaking another promise. $78 billion of additional debt works out to about $5,000 for every single cash-strapped family in this country. How does the Prime Minister expect single moms and seniors and small business people who can't pay their bills to pay another $5,000 for his inflation?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives. Mr. Speaker, what they did yesterday under this leader, they voted against investment in infrastructure. Under this leader, they voted against investment in housing. Under this Conservative leader, they voted against productivity and innovation in our country. Under this leader, they voted against investment in our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we'll build a strong Canada, we'll empower Canadians, and we'll protect our sovereignty because we believe in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think anybody's been able to cram that many slogans into one answer, and this is coming from me. This is coming from me. Mr. Speaker, let's take housing. He says they're spending billions of dollars more on housing. The results are out today. Housing starts down 17% year over year. Where we need the most in Toronto, down 42% year over year. Vancouver, 36% year over year. Ontario, down 35%. And BC, down 22%. Why is it that the more Liberals spend, the less that we can build?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Leader of the Opposition is ignoring the year-to-date results. He's looking month to month. He's twisting the facts. He's getting confused in the numbers. Conservatives have a tough time with numbers sometimes. We understand that. Year-to-date, 2025 versus 2024, we are up 5% with housing starts.
Leader of the Opposition.
What are Canadians getting for the 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers, enough to circle the world 4 times that the Prime Minister has billed back to Canadians? Well, he met with the Americans, and they doubled tariffs on our steel, aluminum, autos, and tripled them on our forestry. He met with the Chinese, who increased tariffs on our farmers and fish harvesters. He met with the Indians. They increased tariffs on Canadian peas. He met the Brits, and they're keeping their blockade on our beef. Why is it that whenever the Prime Minister gets on a plane, Canadians end up paying more tariffs abroad?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Good news for Canadians. Germany just signed a $1 billion deal with Lockheed Martin Canada to support jobs right here in this country. This is what Canadians are getting from the Prime Minister being on the world stage, selling what Canada has to offer. It's about unlocking new markets and creating good jobs here in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
With the Prime Minister billing millions of dollars for his high-flying trips around the world, 28 trips, 150,000 kilometers, now is the time for a scorecard. The Americans have increased tariffs on Canadian autos, aluminum, steel, and lumber. The Indians have increased tariff on our peas. The Chinese increased it on our farmers, our fish harvesters. Now, allow me to introduce a comprehensive list of all the tariffs the Prime Minister has successfully had reduced on Canada.
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader continues to stand against support for Canadian workers and businesses. He has refused to support our government's plan to double non-U.S. exports over the next decade. In fact, he called Canadian exports, other than oil, pixie dust. Does the Conservative leader think our $5 billion in beef exports is pixie dust, or the LNG headed to South Korea from BC, or what about the $7.6 billion worth of fish and seafood caught by hardworking Canadians? Whether it's imaginary taxes or pixie dust, the Conservative leader needs to get on board and out of the way, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
Prime Minister's costly credit card budget puts today's reckless spending on tomorrow's taxpayers. He's maxing out Canada's credit card. Watchdogs are exposing the Liberals' accounting tricks. Fitch and the Budget Watchdog say Canada's credit score is at risk because the Liberals always break their own made-up fiscal targets. How many more Fiscal Watchdog reports is it going to take for this Prime Minister to finally rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I got some advice for the leader opposite. He should go back in his lobby and push reboot on Chat CPC, because all it does is rehash the same tired old talking points. Last night, Mr. Speaker, this House passed a generational budget. We're going to invest in infrastructure, in defense and housing. We will transform this country from reliance to resiliency. It's too bad the members opposite didn't support us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The CRA's a mess under that guy, and he's trying out to be a comedian in here. The Budget Watchdog exposed the Liberals' shady accounting tricks. He said Liberals have a less than 8% chance of meeting their own fiscal targets that they made up while trying to hide $100 billion under so-called investments. The Prime Minister tried this trick in the UK. He's trying the same trick on Canadians. Instead of cooking the books to hide his $100 billion ego, why doesn't he just rein in his out-of-control, costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, they want to talk about slogans and quoting slogans. They quoted the food professor so much, you think it was the leader's personal chef, serving up the same tired old leftovers time and time again. Last night, we passed a generational budget that will transform this country. It's too bad the party opposite didn't support our budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie South, Innisfil.
Every Canadian should be thanking their lucky stars that we have a parliamentary budget officer whose job it is to be independent and honest about the state of government deficits, debts, and spending. The Budget Watchdog last week called out the creative accounting in the Prime Minister's credit card budget, saying he's using a definition of capital investment that expands beyond the current treatment in public accounts and international practice. In other words, the Prime Minister is cooking the books, and his out-of-control deficit is pouring more gas on the debt and deficit fires. How many more alarms must go off for the Prime Minister to rein in his spending from his credit card budget?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
This budget is a game changer for families across the country. Whether it's the school nutrition program, which I know these Conservatives like to talk down, that's feeding hungry mouths in my riding of Thunder Bay Superior North and all across the country, or early learning and childcare program that's reducing fees. Listen to this, Mr. Speaker. ELCC has taken a huge mental and financial load off our family, particularly during these times. That's from a parent, Mr. Speaker. You can't beat that.
Honourable Member for Barrie South, Innisfil.
And what's the Liberal response to the interim PBO's warnings? They put him on notice that they'll be looking to replace him with someone who has, quote, tact and discretion. Presumably that means replacing the Budget Watchdog with someone from the Prime Minister's inner circle of corporate buddies who take their marching orders from him. The independence and oversight of the Budget Watchdog is designed to call out the deception and raise the alarms to ensure that every MP and Canadian knows when the books are being cooked. Here's a question. Why is it that the watchdogs who are challenging the wolves on this credit card budget being threatened?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, of course there's a well-worn process for appointment of the Parliamentary Budget Officer, which involves consulting with all members of this House, including the Leader of the Opposition. We look forward to the members' feedback on that very important job search.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's costly credit card budget puts today's reckless spending onto tomorrow's taxpayers. After 10 years of these Liberals, Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards. The Fitch credit rating says that federal finances run a high risk of further deterioration since this government frequently blows through its fiscal anchors. How many more fiscal watchdog reports is it going to take for this Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
Good point. The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, as a proud member from Southern New Brunswick, like the member opposite, I believe in this budget we passed last night. That budget has transformational, generational investments in defense, in infrastructure. There is a $5 billion trade corridor fund that will be an amazing amount of dollars for Port St. John and Port Beldoon. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we listen to Canadians. We believe in our budget. We know our budget will transform Canada. It's too bad the members opposite didn't support us last night. I know Canadians stand with us. We will...
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, this member knows that his constituents and mine are struggling to make ends meet, and it's this government's reckless spending that's making matters worse. Not only is Fitch credit ratings warning that Canada's economic position is at risk of getting worse, thanks to the Liberals' disregard for sticking to their own fiscal anchors, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is also warning that this deterioration is already taking place, and Canadians are the ones paying the price. It's no wonder that this Prime Minister wants to fire the Parliamentary Budget Officer, because he's actually telling Canadians the truth. And the truth, Mr. Speaker, hurts. So I'll ask again, how many more fiscal watchdog...
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, that member is an experienced member, so experienced, in fact, he was here for that 10-year river of Harper red ink, the biggest budget deficits on record in the history of the country. And it's funny, he wasn't talking about that then. And what he's done now is he's voting against a budget that creates opportunity right throughout Atlantic Canada, right throughout the province of New Brunswick, that creates opportunity for young people in New Brunswick, in energy, in infrastructure. We're going to keep building this country despite that member, his history of red ink, and his negativism.
On St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of Liberal mismanagement, Canadian families are putting 50% more of their household bills on credit cards than just 10 short years ago because of Liberal inflationary spending. Fitch rating warns that the government overspending puts finances at high risk of further deterioration. The Budget Watchdog warns Liberals have abandoned their own debt-to-GDP anchor, which is key to preserving Canada's AAA credit rating. No wonder the Prime Minister, this costly Prime Minister, is trying to fire anyone who can use a calculator in this place. When will the Prime Minister stop maxing out Canada's credit card and get back to basics?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, like his colleague from Fundy Royal, that member would remember very well the time that he served in Prime Minister Harper's office, and they were overrun with credit card spending and government cutbacks. They pretend to be interested in things now like the fight against crime, and they were cutting CBSA officers and underfunding the RCMP. And what did they do yesterday, Mr. Speaker? They voted against investments in his province, in my province of New Brunswick, in infrastructure that'll build the strongest economy. We've got no lessons to take, as the finance minister said, from that member.
No lessons.
The Honourable Member for Yorkton Melville.
The Prime Minister's costly credit card budget loads today's reckless spending on tomorrow's taxpayers, while Canadians are having to put nearly 50% more of their expenses on their credit cards, fearing potential loss of their homes, businesses, and facing the threat of bankruptcy. If only this government was concerned. The warnings from Fitch and the Parliamentary Fiscal Watchdog are ringing alarm bells. Abandoning one fiscal anchor and replacing it with another is already failing to build investor confidence in Canada. How many more fiscal watchdog reports will it take for this Prime Minister to rein in his costly credit card spending?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
Yesterday in this House, the Conservative Party voted against Budget 2025. They voted against
from the top, but the member can continue.
Those Conservatives voted against food in schools for children. They voted against an income tax cut for the middle class. They voted against $75 million in apprenticeship training. They voted against a refundable credit for personal support workers. They voted against $45 million to address violence against women, and they voted against crucial support for seniors like the old age security. Mr. Speaker, Canadians want to know who are
The member for Foothill.
This Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history, and every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pocket of hardworking Canadians, driving up the costs of everything. Food prices are 50% higher than the target rate, and experts have warned the Liberals the industrial carbon tax is driving up the cost of fertilizer, farm equipment, and food. Now, the Liberals like to say this tax is imaginary, but they're increasing their own imaginary tax in the budget. Is that what they tell parents of the 700,000 kids lined up at food bank, as you're imagining things? Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax when food is already unaffordable?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget meets a moment, speeding up national building projects, boosting trade diversification for agri-food and agriculture, for our economy, and those generations he speaks of to come. $150 billion in infrastructure alone in the plan, including trade corridors, agri-marketing, ag stability, clean fuel regulations, biofuel incentives, CFIA funding for digital trade, investments in can export, EDC, global affairs, all for trade diversification and growing agriculture, Mr. Speaker. And Buy Canada plan, Mr. Speaker, that's so important to all our agriculture farmers and ranchers out there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Foothill.
What this budget did was put intergenerational debt on Canadian families. But here's the fact that the minister just ignored entirely. Canada, food inflation in Canada is 40% faster and higher in Canada than it is in the United States. Canada is the only G7 country where food inflation has actually increased in 4 straight months. We have a record-shattering 2.2 million Canadians forced to a food bank in a single month. Why is the Prime Minister breaking his promise to Canadians, increasing an industrial carbon tax, increasing food costs for Canadians who already can't afford to put food on the table?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all know the Canadian Climate Institute most recent research shows Canada's industrial carbon pricing system have essentially no impact on households. Agriculture plays a significant role in their achievement, Mr. Speaker, to lead the G7 nations. We're going to stand alongside our growers, our ranchers, and our farmers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Battleford, Lloydminster.
This Liberal government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians and drives up the cost of everything. The cost of baby formula has jumped nearly 84% since 2017, and the growing reports of parents going to desperate measures to feed their babies is truly alarming. Yet, when the Liberals had a chance to lower food costs, they chose to increase it. Why is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I just want to point out when it comes to the budget that Saskatchewan is watching. Saskatchewan is here, Mr. Speaker. For 10 years, those Sask Conservatives have voted against billions of dollars in project commitments and programs that would have helped my home province to move faster and build stronger. They did this just for their petty and immature political games. That ends today, Mr. Speaker, because this Saskatchewan MP is voting for the budget and voting for the interests of Saskatchewan.
The Honourable Member for Battleford, Lloydminster, Meadow Lake.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal budget and those initiatives are not working. Parents are still struggling to afford baby formula under this Liberal government's watch. And now StatsCan is reporting another year-over-year increase of 6% on the price of baby formula. The Liberals had a chance to lower food costs for Canadians by scrapping the industrial carbon tax. but they chose to make food more expensive by increasing it. So I will ask again, why, when so many parents are struggling to feed their babies, is the Prime Minister increasing the industrial carbon tax and making food more expensive?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I know they haven't developed a budget in the last 10 years, so they're a little out of practice, Mr. Speaker. But I'm going to ask them, what part of this budget would they cut? Would it be the RCMP Heritage Project? Would it be the thousands of houses that are going to commit to building in Saskatchewan? Would they shut down the nation-building mine in northern Saskatchewan? The $370 million in biofuels to benefit our canola farmers? Would they vote against $257.6 million for firefighting aircraft? Where would you cut? What would you sacrifice on Saskatchewan's behalf?
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberals spend comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Senior Liberal appointee Pierre Poilievre nearly doubled his former travel budget to allow him to spend thousands of dollars on unnecessary limo rides. Instead of asking young Canadians to sacrifice their future, why doesn't the Prime Minister ask one of his top bureaucrats to maybe sacrifice a limo ride here or there? Here.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, what this government is doing is spending less so we can invest more. We've invested $60 billion in the first tranche of major projects, $57 billion in this. This is creating jobs and making Canada stronger, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland Clark.
We hear that tired line from this government and the previous one. Canadians have never had it so good. But the reality is Canadians are struggling, families are struggling, workers are struggling. And yet this government keeps defending the indefensible. While Canadians are lined up in record number at the food banks, Liberal bureaucrats are living the Liberal life of luxury. Will this government take any disciplinary action against this individual? Maybe even curtail his travel budget?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, that agency is an independent agency. It does good work. It is helping us build a nuclear future for this country. We are building at Darlington. We are building at Pickering. We are building at Bruce. Mr. Speaker, we are building Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Compton-Stanstead. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In regions, as we see in the eastern townships, we have media, local media, and francophone cultural institutes that allow us to live our culture. Today, in a digital world and globalization, our way of consuming culture is evolving. I'd like to ask the Minister of Culture and Canadian Identity how the government will protect and promote our diversity and cultural wealth. That is our strength. The Honourable Minister of Identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. In the face of global uncertainty, it is essential that we protect our cultural sovereignty and identity. And that's why, as part of our budget, we're investing historical amounts in cultural and identity, with $38 million for local media across our country. Our government is making a strategic choice to strengthen our cultural sector and our media sector with millions in CBC Radio Canada and $65 billion this represents in GDP and nearly 670,000 jobs. We're investing in our future and preserving the stories told by Canadians.
For Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, extortions are out of control, up 330% across Canada and nearly 360% in Ontario since 2015. 2 weeks ago, a home in Windsor got sprayed with bullets in an extortion attack. As a former police officer, I know criminals are taking advantage of our weak bail laws and lack of tools for law enforcement. Canadians deserve safety, not excuses, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals get serious and support our concerted plan to crack down on rampant extortion and protect our communities? For God's sake, do something.
Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we take extortion very seriously in Canada.
Right.
Extortion with a firearm carries a maximum sentence of life in prison, Mr. Speaker. But you know what? These extortionists think they're not going to get caught, and you know that's why that is, because we haven't given law enforcement the tools they need to catch extortionists. And those tools are in our C2 bill, Mr. Speaker, but except the Conservatives do not agree with that bill, and they will not give our police lawful access tools in order to catch these extortionists, so they know they're going to get away with it.
The honourable member for Cloverdale Langley City.
At a time when Canadians are being terrorized in their own neighbourhoods, our globe-trotting Prime Minister jet-setted into BC for a carefree stroll down the White Rock Pier. A stroll while families in Surrey are barricading their doors. A stroll while homes and businesses are being shot up for the second and third time. A stroll while a sunset stroll while gangs tell victims, give us 5 more names to extort or you're next. It's mind-boggling that he flew out to crack jokes on the pier instead of tackle extortion. Why won't they support the Conservative plan to crack down on extortion crisis?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have no plan. If they had a plan, they would support C-14. In C-14, we make sentencing for extortionists consecutive. C-14 also makes it harder for extortionists to get bail, Mr. Speaker. That's why it's so important that they support these measures. It's so important that they support C2. But Mr. Speaker, I think they don't support it because that would mess up their fundraising plans.
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, CTV just reported an extortion-related shooting in Abbotsford. In BC, entire communities are living in fear as extortion has exploded nearly 500%. This is unacceptable and an indictment on this soft-on-crime, hug-a-thug Liberal government. Right. Conservatives are providing solutions. The Liberals are silent. Just this morning, our Conservative leader requested emergency debate on extortion. The Liberals shot it down. When will the Liberals take this seriously and not give empty platitudes?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, just because my colleague doesn't read the legislation the government puts on the floor of the House of Commons doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I would invite him to read Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Act, which makes it difficult for people who are charged with violent extortion to be released on bail. I invite him to read Bill C-2, the Strong Borders Act, which gives tools around lawful access to law enforcement to actually catch the guys who would commit extortion before it impacts people in his communities. If he wants to reduce the temperature in this House, work across partisan lines, there is something he can do. He can vote for these bills to crack down on extortion, or he can continue to make partisan hay out of it.